Good evening and welcome back to episode 21 of the Hooked on NRL SuperCoach podcast. I'm your host, Sol, and I'm joined by my co-host, Fish. How are you, Fish?
Good, mate. It's good to be back. We'll get ahead of it early. Apologies to the listeners. We actually did record an episode last week, but just due to the quality, we thought it just wasn't a very how would you word it? It just wasn't a very
Yeah, it was just
enjoyable for the
my
listeners.
internet was a problem last week, and it was just cutting in and out. And we, after a bit of a review, we just thought to ourselves, no one's going to want to listen to this, so we didn't upload anything. But it looks like we're all good to go today. So hopefully we'll have good internet and we'll get this one out for you listeners out there.
That's it. Thanks for that, mate. And yeah, so apologies for that, guys. We just thought it'd be better to upload high quality content like we usually do. And so that's what we'll be back to in this week's episode. So yeah, mate, good week. Keen to get stuck into the bit of carnage and drama that's unfolded.
That's it. Yeah, it's the last major buy round. So hallelujah for that. And yeah, let's get stuck in. So we'll move on first to just touching on how we did for the week and what our trades were last week. I'll let you start that one off, mate.
I'll start it off. Hey, we'll go from bad to best. All right. So I'm 34th in the league now. Copped some red arrows last week. So 556 red arrows, and I scored a 1282. The main talking points from the team, Captain Drinky, has basically saved the week. Everything else just didn't really quite work out. I traded Hosking for Cacao, which I'm still happy with the trade, but I wish I traded Tino instead for probably Eli Katoa, but obviously hindsight has come into play there. And obviously just not having Hughes. I'm happy to go with that decision and I will continue to go without Hughes, except with both Hughes and Eli Katoa going 110 plus last week. That kind of hurt a bit to the rank because I think they're both effective ownership is like 80%. I think Eli Katoa is almost like 98% or something really high in the
Hmm.
up in the top rank. So yeah, that wasn't great, but yeah, all in all, like I'm super happy with the Strange pod. Tups and AFB just haven't kicked on. Haas had a down week. Brayley didn't do too good. So yeah, not the best week, but Captain Drinky thankfully saved the score a little bit there, mate. So yeah, 1282. And looking at numbers this week, we got a few green dots. So yes, hopefully we should be on for a good week, mate. But how about you? How did you go? Another week of green arrows, hey?
Nah, I saw red arrows actually. I went down 13
Oh,
spots, so must have scored just a smidge under par. I got 1346, and I'm down to rank through 372 for the year, which is still very solid rank. I guess the main thing I would have seen green if I had Captain Drinkwater. Had a few too many beers Saturday night and just thought, stuff it. Why not? And I Captain Lomax. Yeah, just wanted to go for glory with a bit of a pod captaincy, and yeah, it didn't work out as well as Drinkwater, but it also didn't hurt me too much. I think I did the calcs and I lost 46 points. 46 points would have saw green and maybe pushed into the top 300. But you know can't 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 win it all. You can't make every right decision, right? My trade-ins were Karaz and Lomax. So I bought them both in. I traded Asako out and I traded my injured Fletcher Sharp out. So quite happy with those trades. Those are the two guys I want to run home with. And yeah, obviously a bit annoying with Karaz being named 18th man this week. So we won't get him. Um, but yeah, that's a bit of hindsight into play, I guess, on that one. Everything else, though, for the week was pretty solid. I had those guys that you mentioned in Eli Katoa and Hughes, who were good. Burden's kicking on, and I'm just happy I get him this week again. And then Cleary, 86 in a very low scoring game. I'm very happy I held him, so I don't have to burn a trade to get him back in like most people will do. I think he's down to like 13% ownership, which is just crazy for Cleary. Just hope, fingers crossed, he gets through Origin unscathed and he can back up for Penrith's good draw after the Origin game. So yeah, overall pretty happy, mate, and I'm looking forward to just smashing this last buy round and then hopefully having a good run home and good crack at the top 100. But we'll see how we go.
That's it, mate. Well, we're all cheering you on for the top 100, so let's crack into it. I do like the Lomax play as a captain. Like we do like the sort of pod plays. I just think just because Drinky last week, just that matchup, and he went
Mm,
nuts. But as you said, you only lost 40 something points. I know a lot of people who didn't captain Drinkwood or captain Pappenhausen. I feel like
mm,
that's a bit more damaging, almost a 100 point swing. But I've been on the other side of that a lot of times this year, so. You'll be
mm.
right, mate. And yeah, in rank 372, so you're charging up the ranks there. But all eyes will be on Nathan Cleary next Wednesday in Origin because, as you mentioned, 86 in a game that was extremely low scoring but high quality football. As you mentioned, their soft draw home. I think he is someone that everyone is going to have to sort of buy back, and at that 13% ownership, I'm sure a lot of super coaches are really going to have to try and formulate a plan and really decide on who to sell to get to him, which I think leads us nicely into TLT for the week, mate.
Yeah, I agree there, mate.
Do you want to take us away? So,
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
reminder for the listeners, we're just doing at the later stages now of the Supercoach season. We're just going to whiz through the changes in the teams, and then we'll give our tip, and then we'll sort of move on through that, and then we'll move on into the top 10 most brought sold, and then our trades and skippers. So that's just an updated schedule for the listeners there. But yeah, mate,
yeah.
if you want to take it away.
Yeah, so obviously Crichton and Carraz are on origin duty, so that sees Blake Wilson and Tawala come into the back line. Harry Hayes and Sam Hughes are the new props in place of Max King and Saluka Fafita. Max King's away with origin and Saluka Fafita with concussion. And then you also see Hopoi come back, which is good for some people that bought him in weeks ago. He's on the bench. And Morin is also in for Kurt Mann on the bench. For the Broncos, Hobbo is back. Um, Obviously, news last week dropped that he's gone to the Dolphins. Is it the Dolphins?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dolphins.
So yeah, it's good to see him back playing NRL footy for the Broncos. He's back in the fullback jersey in place of Reece Walsh, who I believe is the 18th man in Origin for Queensland. Dean Mariner joins the backline in place of Shibasaki, who's been called up to Origin. Very well earned, and I love that story of him being named in the Origin side. Payne Haas and Carrigan on Origin duty, so Xavier Willison and Heffington join the starting side. Jaden Hunt and Smoothie are the new men on the bench. Any thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, mate. Not particularly. I think the Broncos leading up to this match were kind of had a bit of a stronger lineup against the Doggies with all the Origin players, but with all these sort of Origin players being called in for the Maroons, like the likes of Walshy and even Shibasaki, who, as you mentioned, there's absolutely great story, and just him and Toyer, I think, in the centers this year just both really good stories about him. Both
Mm.
separate ends, sort of. Well, the occasions, obviously, one's a up and coming, and one is a bit of a seasoned vet from the old Japanese league. But yeah, really good to see them both really doing well this year. But mate, in this game on Friday night, I think the Doggies will win this just because of their. Well, they're coming off a loss, and you don't see the Doggies lose too many games back to back. So I think the Doggies win by 4 in this one, mate.
Yeah, I've got the doggies in this one as well, mate. Doggies by 6, I'm going to say.
Like it, mate. Like it.
Move on to the next game. So next game is the Raiders versus Dragons, and that is on the Saturday at 5:30 p.m. at GIO. So Josh Papali'i, obviously big news, recalled back into Origin after retiring, I think back in 20, don't want to guess the
23.
year,
Huge
2023.
news.
Yeah,
Huge news. Good on
I
him.
really like that inclusion. So yeah, it's awesome to see him back. It sees Horsburgh go to prop and Smithy's named into the starting side. Trey Mooney comes onto the bench. And that's about it. Simisasangi starts for Hudson Young, which he did last week as well. For the Dragons, you see a host of injuries for them. Their injury toll's really racking up, and Val Holmes is also on Origin duty as well. So there's quite a few new faces. You got Finau and Sloan on the wings. You got Fatala Mariner, Pacifici Tonga coming back into the side. Hamed Saleh and Michael Molo all coming into the 17. And then you're out very long, as I said. Hamish Stewart, Luciano Leilua, Nathan Lawson and Cashman are all missing due to injuries suffered, concussions, shoulder injuries by the looks of it, and quad injuries as well. What are your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, mate, bit of carnage for the Dragons, unfortunately. In saying that, though, I believe the gap between the Dragons sort of first and second side team isn't too dissimilar. So the
Mm,
fact that that even though there are going to be quite a few Dragons sort of players coming through this weekend, I don't think it will still be as easy of a match as sort of most people are expecting. I do still expect the Raiders to win and probably win convincingly, but I'm just not sure they'll put a massive scoreline on. But for someone like myself who owns the Ethan Strange, I'm licking my lips. I'm hoping he does. He goes well because yeah, he's looking like a really good pod 5'8" to be owning. I do think it's a bit harsh and a bit unfair. Not unfair, but a bit stiff for Horsburgh with the whole Origin thing.
mm.
He's been playing pretty good footy himself in a side that is probably going to win the minor premiership, and his teammate, the old ex vet, has been recalled over him. So I think it is a bit harsh for Horse, but yeah, I think I got the Raiders in this one, mate.
Yeah, I've got the Raiders as well, mate. And yeah, couldn't agree more on Horsburgh. I would pick him over Leo every day, but obviously Slater knows what he's doing. Um, Yeah, not too much else to touch on here. I really like both the edges to score tries in this one, Simi Sasungi and Zach Hosking. They both look good. Obviously, we're both sold Hosking now, but I do like this matchup for both them. And as you said, your pod, Ethan Strange, looks really good for him. Same as KO Weeks as well, who all turned up last week. And for the Dragons, not really too much going on there of interest. Um, yeah, the side looks pretty dire. And as you said, with the New South Wales um, with their sort of B side. Their B side's won. I think they were on an 8 game winning streak.
Nine.
So
I think it's up to
yeah,
nine now.
nine
Yeah.
now. But that's mainly due to their halves. And I know Flanagan's copped a lot of slack in the media. But yeah, rightly so, I believe. After how the Dragons have performed the last month or so, he did have a good game on the weekend. But yeah, you've got Jonah Glover, who's apparently out of the club, on his way out of the club now, playing so well on the B side, and same as Elias as well. So, yeah, I think the Raiders touched them up this weekend.
Like it, mate. Like it. On to the second game of Saturday. We got Cows versus the Storm.
A few changes here because we've got a couple of Origin players. You see Tom Duffy be recalled for Tom Dearden in the halfback, who's obviously gone due to Origin. Ruben Cotter, Nane, Robson, all on Origin also, which basically sees Jordan McLean return from his injury and replace Cotter there. And then you've got John Bateman back from a groin injury. Harrison Edwards takes over at hooker, and Kyle Donnell starts in the back row for Nano. Um, got a debutant, I believe, from the Mackay Cutters, Temple Kalepo, on the bench as well. For the Storm, you see Xavier Coates, Farlongo, um, both out. Coates for Origin, and Farlongo obviously did his hamstring in the later stages of last week. So Grant Anderson slides onto the wing with Kane Bradley coming in on the other wing, and Joe Chan named at centre, which is a bit of a weird one. It just really does show that the Storm depth, especially in the outside backs, is being tested a lot here. With obviously House already injured, you've got Warbrick, who we haven't seen for ages, and now Coates and Farlongo unavailable this week as well. Wishart replaces Cam Munster at 5'8", and Bronson Garlett comes in for Harry Grant at hooker. Jonah Pezzett joins the bench in the utility role, and Kamakamitha comes in at prop, and Big Nas, slides to lock to cover Trent Liara, who's an Origin. Stefano, also on Origin duty, means that Lazarus Valepo comes into the bench, as well as Ativalu Lisati. Bit going on there, mate. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, mate. I think the Storm will just be too strong despite losing Munster, Liero, Grant. The Storm are just going to be strong, and it's going to be a tough week not owning Jerome Hughes this week, I suspect. But I like him. It's just for someone who my plan is just going to be running home with Hines and Cleary. So we'll touch on it later, but yeah, I think he's going to be on for a good game, and I think a lot of the Storm players should be on for a good game. We've seen the Cowboys' defense just suck. They've considered the second most amount of points just behind the Titans now, so their defense really just isn't there this year. And I think even on the weekend, the Cowboys conceded another 30 odd points. So anyone who's scoring versing them recently has been putting on a bit of a score. So I like Pappy as well in this match, mate. But yeah, if tipping here, I reckon Storm by 18.
Yeah, I think Storm by a good margin as well. I'm going to say by 16. I do think the Cowboys will put on some points though in this one. Their attack's good, you know. It's just yeah, the defense. I think it'll be a high scoring game. So yeah, hopefully that means bodes well for our Supercoach sides. Not really much to touch on. I think as you touched on, Hughes um for non-owners is going to be a tough watch in this one. I think he scored like 130 plus against the Cows. This is part of the reason I also brought him in. I traded Hines to him a couple of weeks ago. Just, I'm happy to run home with Hughes and Cleary, and I really do think you're choosing between Hughes and Hines for the run home. But obviously, the extra game for Hughes in this matchup was a big reason that swayed it for me, and also that he's got no more buys. Hines has a buy this week, and then he's got a buy later on in the year as well. And Hughes plays for what I consider the best side in the comp and who are the premiership favourites. So I'm confident every time they have a good matchup that Hughes is going to go well. Whereas the Sharks are just so up and down that I just think I prefer Hughes over Hines. I made that call a while ago and happy to stick with that. But obviously Hines is great as well, mate. And I think you can go either way there. Not too much else. Pappy is an awesome VC option in this one, and if you don't own Pappy, then I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be an excruciating watch.
It would be. I think he could almost ton up in kicks this game. Hopefully, same as drink order. So plenty of points in that game there, mate. Moving on to our first game of Sunday. So obviously minimal games this weekend with Origin. We got the Roosters and the Tigers, mate.
So a lot going on in this one, mate. Your Tigers seem a bit depleted. I'll start with them actually. So Heath Mason suspension sees Taruva slide to fullback and Staines coming onto the wing. Dewey moves to 5'8" with Coruscant concussed and sideline, and Luke Laulili is the new centre partner for Stafford Toa. Talon De Silva has departed for the Eels, so Tristan Hope takes over at hooker in just his second NRL appearance after debuting in round one. Charlie Murray is the new face on the bench. I've heard some good things about this Charlie Murray kid as well. So hopefully he goes well. And Alex Twal is the captain in the absence of Luai and Coruscant. For the Roosters, Rodwell makes his debut on the wing with Nawanawitawase Tawase into the centres to replace Toya, who was in camp with the Maroons. Angus Crichton, Connor Watson, Lindsay Collins, and Linu are also on Origin duty, so it sees Makatoa, Benaya Laliu, Blake Steep join the starting side, while Egan Butcher returns from concussion as well to replace Siwa Wong. Max McCarthy earns his NRL debut on the bench alongside Docker Clay, Taylor Lasalu, and De La Salle Va'a, who plays a second NRL game after debuting in round 27 last year. A lot to unpack there, mate. That seems like it was more than the last game. How do you see this one playing out, and what are your thoughts here?
There is, mate. There is a lot going on for both sort of teams as well. I have a really bad feeling that the Tigers are going to get pumped this weekend. I think this is one of the weakest sides we've put out this year, just because of obviously Origin. I say that it's Luai and Appy both being out. I love that Twali is captaining the lads this weekend, but yeah, I'm a bit concerned for the boys. I think it could get a bit ugly because I think the Roosters really don't lose too much with when they lose their Origin stars. We've seen these young kids coming through from the Chookies being absolutely unreal. Kids like Blake Steep and Fotoeki just look absolutely unreal and will be future stars of the game. So I think the Roosters put a pretty convincing score on him, and I'm really interested in someone like a Markey, even though he's playing centre this week. I think on the wing for the run home, I think he's been averaging 82 or something on the wing, and he's locked in to be a winger for the run home sort of thing after this week once Toya returns. So yeah, big going on there. Hopefully Tigers show something, but I think it'll be Roosters by 18 in this, mate.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I actually don't think it will be as bad as what you think it will be scoreline wise. I think when I look at the forward packs, it's quite similar in quality. Like, you still got Terrell May, you got Pole, you got Alex Twell, you got Fainu. You got Jack Bird. I think they can match it and go better than this young Roosters forward pack. The halves are not too far off in Dewey and Faioni versus Sandon Smith and Savala, but where you do see the differences in the back line. So obviously on the edges there, there's a lot more quality in the Roosters side, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as what you think scoreline wise. So I'm actually on the Roosters by, I'm only going to say by 8 points in this one. I think it's not going to be as bad for your Tigers, and yeah, I'm sure you're hoping that's the case as well. In terms of Supercoach options, not really. Like you touched on Mark, he's so good to watch. I could imagine I've had him in draft, and he's just such a good watch. So I rate that. I rate the play. He's just not for me at the moment. But Roosters are a really good target team to have. I'll explain that why he's not for me as well later on in the episode. I just can't fit him in, but we'll get to it. Mark, yeah, he's the Roosters, I guess, they play every single round from here on out. They've got no more buys, so it makes them really attractive. And these are this buy round is a time where you want to sort of target players that don't have another buy and you can hold for the rest of the season. So I'm really holding off buying players. It's probably one of the tougher buy rounds just because you want people that you run home with. You don't want to be burning trades for guys that have a short stretch in your team, especially if you're like me who doesn't have many. That's all for me on that game, mate. Roosters by 8.
Like it, mate. And yeah, couldn't agree more with trades running too low and just the amount of carnage we've had this year. It
Mm.
has been crazy. But taking us over to the last game of the week, we got the Seagulls and the Bunnies, mate.
Yeah, not too much going on in this one in terms of changes. So we've got Talau just adding to the bench instead of Nathan Brown, who has injured his bicep. And then for the Rabbitohs, you see Alex Johnson go to fullback for Latrell Mitchell, who's an origin, obviously. And then Isaiah Tass comes in on the wing. Ewan Aitken moves to the centres, and Whiting goes to 5'8" to replace Cody Walker, who is injured yet again. Liam LeBlanc and Law Stoddard are new faces on the bench, and you see Brandon Smith being named on the extended bench as he nears a return from an ACL injury suffered late last year. What are your thoughts there, mate? Not too much in terms of changes in this one.
Yeah, definitely. And very much from a super coach perspective, not really too much going on either. Someone like Tommy Turbo, if you still had, I think I would hold on now. He's scored about 75, I think it was last week in the center spots, and he does look to be building up in confidence. I think it'll be one more sort of week for him in centers, and I think next week, or it's the bye next week, the week after that, he'll be back at fullback there. So yeah, look, I just don't think it's an option though this year. If with someone like a Latrell, say for instance, who scored, I think he still scored 80 odd on the weekend, despite the Bunnies getting absolutely pumped by the Finns there. But yeah, apart from that, for Supercoach, not too much going on in this one, mate.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think your captaincy options are before this last game. You could throw a captaincy on, I don't want to say it, probably Tom if you really got big nuts, but maybe Ruben Garrick would be a decent captaincy option. But I think Teddy and Pappy will take the cake on that side of things. As far as Tom, if you had him, yes, I think you would hold him, but it depends on your layout. I don't think so. For example, if I had Drinkwater, Pappenhausen, and Tom, I would be moving heaven and earth to get Tedesco in because there's no way I would want to watch this weekend without Tedesco. And the same goes for Pappenhausen, honestly. If you're missing Pappenhausen or Tedesco and you have Tom, and he's your ticket to them, I think that's a good move. But other than that, like if you had the combo of Tom, Pappenhausen, and Tedesco, then I think it's fine to go without Drinkwater and go Tom versus Drinkwater for this week. But yeah, that's it for me, really, mate. In this one, good to see Hubner be named. As I am still an owner of that man. So yeah, that last week for him, and then he's gone skis. But yeah, Eagles in this one. I'm gonna say by 6. Actually, I've tipped the Bunnies way too many times this year. I think I've backed them in like 4 times out of the last 5 weeks. They've lost every time, so I'm getting so sick of it. I hope the Bunnies win, but Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it to myself again with these guys.
Fair enough, mate. I'm doing it again. I just think the Seagulls were far from convincing last week against the Tigers. I thought the Tigers were really probably won that first half. In the second half, they sort of started slow, and the Seagulls did just sort of have that class difference. But I think the bunnies in this. I think the Seagulls are far from convincing. I think we're seeing a couple of players starting to return, the likes of Brandon Smith. Hopefully, Cody Walker's injury isn't too bad as well, so they get back on deck soon. But I just think the bunnies have been showing up every single game this year, and we really need them to start winning some games
Hmm.
for a little top eight bet. So they got to win this. And I can see it as well.
You
I
know
can
what?
see it, mate. So
I switched my tip.
bunnies.
I'll back the bunnies in. I just had a bit more of a look at the sides, and yeah, like I'm gonna back the bunnies in. Their forward pack looks better to me. Um, they're obviously the thing that scares me is the quality in the back line for the Eagles. But I think you've got some decent defense there with Campbell Graham and Ewan Aitken. So it's just whether Cherry Evans has a big one or not. Really, that's will determine the game. So yeah, I'm on the bunnies. I'll switch it back, mate. Back him in.
That's it, mate. That's it. Right. Say glory, glory,
Yeah.
glory, glory. That wraps up the TLT for the week. We'll now move over to the 10 most brought and sold players this week. Kicking us off to begin with the most brought players for the week. Number one, Big Marky Mark, mate. For being brought by 27% of super coaches in the top 1%, taking his ownership to almost 50% in the top 1%. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on him?
Can't knock the buy. The thing that I would like it a lot more if he was on the wing. This week, like it would be a very, very hard watch. I think he's still really good in the centers, gets more offloads and obviously more tackles. But yeah, it's going to be hard watch, not having him. But I'm happy. Well, not happy, but I'm willing to forego him because there's another center wing by the name of Brian To'o who I really want for the run home, and you can't have all these center wings. I've just brought in Lomax and Carraz. I've got Herbie, I've got Garrick, got Lucas down there. I've got spot for one more big dog, and I choose to run home with Brian To'o over Mark. But either way, I think it'll like it's yeah. I see both doing very well, but I just think I'm going to back To'o in over him, which is why I'm not going to go Mark. But can't knock the buy at all.
Fair enough, mate. Yeah, look, I love it as a buy. I think he is only playing the centers this week, and then he will return to the wing for the rest of the season. As you mentioned, they've got no more buys. They've got a soft run home. The Roosters, if they get Sam Walker on the same side of Mark, I think that is going to hum so many points, and he's going to
Hmm.
score so many tries because he is just a natural athlete and a freak. I think he's the perfect sort of fifth center wing where you don't have to play him every week, but you can just sort of rotate and play through on matchups. So yeah, for me, I absolutely love the buy, and he's someone that I am probably going to be buying myself. I agree with you. It's not ideal that he's in the centers this week, but I do believe he's running up against the Farli'i for the Tigers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
um in that sense, it is a not too bad matchup from a sort of player's perspective. So yeah, love that by their mate. Moving
yeah.
on
I
to
like it
number
too.
two, Kane Bradley. Massive
Yeah.
green tick from me.
Same here, mate. Move on. Big, big, big on the buy. Dual Storm should have some decent job security. I think you can't really fault it.
Absolutely. He is the enough or the cheapy option to go. I would be going him before Jed Stewart and all these sort of other blokes personally. As you
Mm.
sort of mentioned, that duel is just so invaluable and will become very helpful at the latter ends of the season here. Number
Yep.
three, Jacob
Oh, just
Preston. Oh,
just
sorry.
before moving on. Yeah, I was based on like I missed out on Karapani last week intentionally because like it just didn't fit what I was wanting to do. But yeah, this was the week I was going to trade in the cheapie to downgrade Jenkins, and thank God Kane Bradley came along because it was going to be Jed Stewart otherwise, and I really did not like that, but I needed to do it for my side. So Bradley a lot more over Jed Stewart for mine. Good duel, and if you've got Lucas, you can flick him up and down through the season. So yeah, move on to Preston.
Yeah, Preston. Look, I think you can have one of the two. I think you can have number. We'll touch on them both as a group, and then we'll
Yeah,
pick one. How's that
yeah,
sound? So we got Preston in 3 and Kikau in 5. They're
yeah.
both they're both very good. They're both what are they averaging this year? I think they're both averaging 70 plus. Like they've
Hmm,
both been really consistent, really good this year. Obviously, Preston is coming off a bigger game. He scored that line break try against the Panthers Thursday night, but just from a eye perspective for me, Kikau is just way more involved, and the doggies just
yeah.
love going left. And I think that's clear in Preston's stats even last year compared to this year. When Preston was playing left, you just get way more attack. And
Yeah.
when I say attack, I don't necessarily mean tries. I mean Kikau loves the layover, the wrapping pass out the back to Montoya on the wing there, and he has got a handful of those try assists already this season. I think that left edge with the doggies draw home, as you mentioned, another team with no buys. So yeah, I love the buys. If I were to pick one, I would go with Cacao. I'm a Cacao man. I just think there's more upside, more attacking sort of potential TBs offloads, but you really can't knock either of them, mate. So yeah, Cacao for me. What about you?
Yeah, it's kick out for me as well, mate. Yeah, I'm a Burton owner as well, so it'd be awesome to double up on both of them. I'm not going to go kick out either of these guys. I'm happy to forego them for the run home just because I do have Burton. I've got a bit of security in having these doggies guys, but I think there is merit that when the dogs have a good matchup, kick out is going to go well and terrorize some edges, and they do have a really good draw coming up. So yeah, he just seems to have taken his Supercoach game to another level this year. More offloads, more runs, and yeah, as you said, he's a great watch. And the dogs favour that left edge. They favour the left edge a lot in their attack, and kick out is a big part of that. So yeah, kick out for mine in that one.
Like it, mate. On to number 4 for the week. It's Jerome Hughes. Can't
Yeah,
knock it. Cannot knock it.
yeah, I I think he's an awesome buy this week and someone that I'd be very scared not to own. But I think halfback's one of those positions where Jeez, you're right, mate. I think halfback's one of those positions where, it's you have to pick two of the three out of Hines, Cleary, and Hughes, I think. So I made my bet a couple of weeks ago with going Hughes and Cleary. I think if you got Hines, you can make the move to Hughes, and it's something that I would consider. And if you got someone like uh a people traded in Cherry Evans as well. Just depends how many trades you have left in order to make that call for your own team. I wouldn't want to be burning too many trades at halfback. And I think Hughes is a guy that you can run home with, and he's someone I will be running home with. But yeah, it's a tough call it's a tough call depending on who you have there. If you've got Cherry Evans and Hines, for example, I'm not sure. I wouldn't sell Cherry Evans because he plays this week. He'll be a sell next week, and I'm not sure I would sell Hines to Hughes this week. It's 50-50 call for mine. It's just a bit late now, but I think no, I would sell him. I would sell Hines to Hughes, but it just depends how many trades you have. That's my take on it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there. um,
We'll
ugh,
just smash out these last ones, hey.
yeah.
Um, drink water. Drink water. I honestly don't like this buy. If you don't have him, I wouldn't be bringing him in. At this stage, I'd be waiting to get a Dylan Edwards or a Latrell next week. At the ownership, as you see, he's 92% owned. He's got the Storm this week. Obviously people are bringing him in because he went huge against the Titans last week. But I think I'd be opting to go a bit more pod with a buy next week with Latrell or Edwards, whoever out of them two, and back against Drinkwater for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't mind it just because I think now that Purdue is back in centers, I think that's really going to open Drinky up. So can't knock it as a buy, but I do like the pod players in future weeks.
Hmm. Lomax, I'm a Lomax owner, but this is just silly. Um, he doesn't play this week. You don't know if he's gonna back up next week. Um, yeah, so I don't like that. Jed Stewart, we discussed. Obviously, prefer Kane Bradley. Would bring him in 100% over Jed Stewart. Who's you got to be careful as well because the Raiders have a bye next week. Um, I'll let you. Do you want to touch on anything more on those guys?
Nah, I agree with both of those.
Hosking, no way would I be bringing him in and back in. I don't like that buy at all. Has a buy next week. Nicholson's due back soonish. I don't see him as a run home keeper, so it's a no for me there. You agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Kalani going, people I guess are just freeing up funds in hooker. So that's fine. I think it's a fine trade if it works out well for your side to do that. And if you've got the trades and you think it works well, then I don't mind that. I don't mind it.
Yeah, here's the nuff I'd be going for in hooker.
Yeah.
Onto our most solid. Sorry, listen, I don't know what's happened. Something's come over me, but yeah, we'll smash through the rest of this.
Yeah, we'll smash it. I'll lead the way, mate. Asako, I sold him last week. I don't I like the sell, honestly. I don't think he's someone that I would want taking up a center wing spot. And most people have Herbie. I don't want two Dolphins in there. You're happy with one, and you pot up with someone else. I think he's at a good price, so I think he's a good sell. You can hold, but for me, I like the sell
Yeah, would you sell Asako to Mark?
this week. Yeah, I would.
I
Osaka's
agree.
also got a buy in round 21. I think it is. So I just don't see him famous last words, but I think you just go someone else. He's a good price. You can free up funds with the trade. And I think Mark will score better from here to the end of the season. You make 70K from it and get an extra player. So, yeah. Metcalf, obvious sell with the injury. Yeah, no brainer there. Tino, I'm not a big fan of it, but I think it's something that you're eyeing up.
Yeah, I'll touch on it just quickly. He obviously has been playing injured, right? There's no doubt about that. Everything has dropped off a cliff, but the main point, the main issue for me is someone's got to go, and my sort of three options this week are between, well, my two sort of options really are between AFB and Tino because it looks like Tarpany is going to play. So I just think AFB is playing fit at least. Tino, I don't know how long he's going to be playing carrying this injury. He's not going to back up next in round 19. Hopefully he will return at some point, but with just how stacked the team is looking at second row forward, I really and my I have four front row forwards, so yeah, I can't knock the sell. I get it. I obviously the price isn't there, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not particularly big on it. I don't. In saying that, like he's not playing this week. I don't think he backs up next week as well. It's just how many trades do you have, and who are you getting in that's that much better than Tino when he's playing? Like he's still got about 60 odd points, which is decent enough. He can be some decent cover until he gets up to his best, and yeah, the Titans will need him down the stretch. Obviously, if he aggravates the injury, he's a definite sell. But for now, he's playing in Origin. He's lost all his money. He's someone that when he comes good, you'll want. He's solid enough. I just don't see many options better, and I don't want to burn a trade on trading someone like him out, especially for 573K. So I don't like it. I'd be trying to hold him, and I don't like the AFB trade either. To be honest, mate, I don't like either of those. We'll swing on to AFB as well. Now it's a nice little segue. I wouldn't trade either of those guys. Hamole is in between, wedged in between them there is a definite sell. Obviously, he's injured until round 21, so I can get around the sell there on him. But for and he doesn't play next week either, so he's really just not helping you out. He's just sitting there as dead money. Whereas AFB plays next week, and Tino's just I can't sell Tino for that price. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Well, I guess you've already shared your thoughts there, mate, on those. You're considering it both, so you mustn't mind it.
Yeah, well, I'm just in the exact same position. One of them have got to go for Eli Katoa. You mentioned you got to be bringing in keepers for the run home. Both Eli Katoa is a keeper. He's already 98% owned or whatever it is. I just need to get him in. So someone's got to go. It's just figuring out who's got to go. And yeah, at this point in time, I am leaning Tino. But who would you, if you were selling those two, who would you sell?
Oh,
Only one.
I would sell Tino just because he's in doubt to play next week, but I would much rather have a have Tino on the run home than Fanua Blake that's in my opinion, and he's got the duel as well, so you can play him at second row, which is where I currently have him. Whereas Fanua Blake, I assume, you've got Harsh, you've got May, you've got Tapani, you've got Fanua Blake. Like he's just taken up a reserve tag, whereas Tino's good cover in second row, in my opinion, where there's not too many standouts. Like Ali Katoa is a buy, but he's not been setting the world alight. We've got Kaloa Matangi there, who got 45 last week. You just got to give some of these guys leeway. And see, second row is one of those positions too. It can be any week, and you want a bit of depth there. So that's why I like the Tino hold, because of the position he's in also, and he's got the duel. But yeah, I probably would lean Tino over AFB sell. Yeah, but not by much at all.
Let
And
us
if he
know
played,
then in the
yeah.
comments. Let us know who would you sell if you were me, Tino or AFB Legends?
Yeah, spent a bit of time on that one. So we'll move on to the next one. We have Hubner, my boy, who I've still got. I think he's a fine sell if you I think he's a fine sell if you've got the numbers this week. So if you had 16 players going down to 15 or whatever, if it sets up your side, that's fine. But for me, I want to hold him for this round as he obviously is a playing player. Um, I've only got 14 players this week after using one trade, so he stays and he's a definite sell for me next week, which is we'll get to the team later. But yeah, well, I've got a lot of cash in the bank to prepare to ship him off. What do you
Yeah,
think?
mate. I agree. You can if you need the numbers for this week, you can hold, but yeah, you can sell them whenever.
Yeah, I think he's a sell by next week. Otherwise you're probably going to be stuck with him for the season, sort of thing.
And we
Um,
already got too many of those.
yeah, that's it. Lawson, definite can sell, but he's 227k. So what do you like? I assume these people are doing Lawson to Bradley. Which yeah, it's like I would do that trade. I think if I had the trades, but you're not really the point of getting someone like Bradley in is that you can free up funds. You can free up funds, so you're not really freeing up anything with going Lawson to Jed Stewart or you see Bradley there. And yeah, like I don't mind the sideways move if you need the numbers. It's an easy trade, but yeah, you gotta see how it works out for your side. Like, if you need the numbers, it's an easy trade out. But I would be looking to free up more funds if I'm downgrading and happy holding them. For example, I've still got Royce Hunt and Simpkins there at bottom dollar, and I haven't thought about trading them just because it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm in a bit of a similar position, with not Hubner with Geimer
Mm.
because he doesn't look like to be paying. He's doing nothing. But for someone like a Bradley, if that gives you that duel to then be able to flick Lucas up and down and switch him around, then I think something like that probably does warrant a trade. To someone like Jed Stewart, probably not. But again, if it's numbers dependent, yeah, can't knock that. But I'd love if you could upgrade to from Lawson to Markey. I think that's a pretty good trade. And even Karapani, I think even though he's gone up 130k, I think you can still go him.
I wouldn't be going Karapani on it, honestly, not at that price, but yeah, I would go Kane Bradley for sure. Yeah, I don't mind the sideways trade, but I'm also not a massive fan of it either. He does take a valuable centre wing spot up though, whereas Royce Hunt's taking a fourth front row forward spot, so it's a bit different. Move on to Couchman. Yep, easy sell on that. How many are we down?
Two more.
Jenkins. Yep. You agree with that, mate, on Couchman?
Yeah, Cowboy injured now. Got to sell him. Yep.
Yeah. Jenkins, someone one person I'm selling this week, 100%. Topped out at 624K, which as you can see is more than Nico Hines. So yeah, I'm glad I held that little bit extra, but it's time to ship him off and make some cash from it. So he's gone. And then you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I think if you held on, you'd be happy with that 409K increase. Time to move him on.
Yeah. Nico Hines sort of touched on that. I'm very 50-50 on whether I'd be trading him to Hughes, who's that's who I assume people are trading him to. If you need to get Cleary back and you need to get if you need to get Cleary back as well, I wouldn't be doing it. But if you've held Cleary and you've got enough trades, then I don't mind the Hines to Hughes trade. You get 2 extra games and he's a better side and a better side. But you can easily hold Hines as well. Like he's a great player and the Sharks, while inconsistent, do have a good draw too. So just depends on the situation you're in. I probably, yeah, I'm very 50-50 on it at this point. It depends on your makeup and your trades, I think.
I agree. I think the only position I'd be selling Hines to Hughes is if you already have Cleary. Otherwise just hold Hines. He's a season keeper. He's a kicker. Sharky's got a pretty good run home as well. I'll back him in.
Hmm.
And that wraps up the 10 most brought and sold players for the week, taking us over then to our trades and skippers for the week, mate. I'll do mine quickly, but I've got a bit going on. I think I'm going to max trade. I got
Yeah.
360K. I got 9 trades. So let's use all the cash and let's take us down to 6 trades and have a crack. My numbers are already good. I think I got 14 before trade. So it's really just about um, the run home now and the long term sort of picture. So as we've alluded to in the podcast, I'll be selling Hiroti. Hiroti needs to go. He's not doing anything. And I'll be going straight to Marky Mark. So that locks in center wing then. I'll also then be moving. This then becomes the difficult decision out of AFB, Tino. If Tarpany was out, I would have sold Tarpany, but he's not. I'm selling Tino and then I'll be getting Ellie Katoa. Where is Ellie? There he is. And so that leaves me with 300 in the bank. So that is really nice trades and the perfect amount of cash. I think I'm also going to be doing a Geimer to Bradley though, just so I can get that duel with him and Lucas, which would mean I would have Bradley in second row and Lucas in centers, and then I could flick them round. So this is what my trades are looking like. Hiroti to Markey, Tino to Ecat, Geimer to Bradley. I'm not sold completely, especially because that Geimer to Bradley does nothing apart from that flexibility, and my numbers are already pretty good for this week. But that would leave us running out with this. So Sandon at hooker, T-May and Tups in the front row, Colo, Ellie Katoa, and Kikau in the second row with White, Bradley, and Simpkins. I'm really, really happy with that. And then obviously Lucas, I would be looking at playing in the second row most of the time. So that rotation looks to be pretty good there, which is why I am happy to sell Tino, because even if I had Tino, I just don't know where he kind of fits in to that sort of makeup. In the halves, we got LKT, who just keeps getting better and better, strength to strength. So hopefully he kicks on, and Ethan Strange, hopefully he kicks on as well. In the centers, then we got Garrick, Marky Mark, Karapani, Billy Smith, as well as Bradley. If I flick Lucas up to second row, him down to wing, then my captain will 100% be on James Tedesco, and my vice captain will be on Pappenhausen. So that's how I'm lining up for this week, mate. What do you think of that?
I really rate all your trades. Um, I rate all of them. The only issue is that you've got 9 of them, and if you're burning 3, then you've got 6 left for the run home. And
It's a
just looking at
scary number.
yeah, it is. And just looking at your side, you need to get Cleary back still. um, as well. And then probably, oh, you don't really need to worry about a hooker. So you'll just be praying that, your injuries are kind and that people back up next week, which is another thing, too. So, um, running on the low end, but yeah, like if you want to go balls to the wall, then I can't fault those trades at all. If I was gonna not do one of them, it would be the Guymer to Bradley one. So I think that's worth tossing up if it's worth it for you. Um, but I do like the flexibility. Like now you've got Lucas who can cover you in both positions. Your front row is sorted, so you've got really good depth. You've got really good depth with that move. So even if you do cop a couple injuries, you'll be all right. So yeah, it does set your team up quite nicely. So the only one I would ponder would be that last trade though, if it's worth it. But looking at it, it does like I love that flexibility. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
And the
mate.
captaincy, very obvious, yeah, as well.
Yeah, I think for most super coaches, I wouldn't be getting too tricky this week. Just do the VC Pappy, C Teddy. It's a bit of a no-brainer. And then, yeah, I agree with that. It's just because I just don't know if Bradley, but again, Bradley could score a double and then end up coming into my score. So it could work out. It's just Guymer. Like I could very easily just nuff Guymer and hold Guymer. But I do like the way my team looks then. And then yeah, it would just be selling Sandon, downgrading him, and then upgrading LKT, or which is what I might be doing next week, depending on how Strange goes this week. Selling Strange, flicking Cleary back in at halfback and playing LKT at 5'8", and then probably jumping to maybe JC. But with what trades? So
Yeah,
long may we play, and long may we long play the Super Coach game.
that's
That's
it, man.
my trades, mate. What are you thinking this week?
Yeah, mine's quite different. I'll just share my screen now. So as you can you see that my full side, or do I have to scroll a bit? Is
Yeah,
that a bit better?
yeah, we
My
can see
backup.
full. Oh, but then you can. No, that's all right. Yeah, that looks
Is
good.
that too small?
Yeah,
Or
possibly. Yeah,
I'll just zoom back in. All right,
yeah.
we'll
I
just
reckon
scroll
that's good.
down. All right, so just the one trade for me this week, and it is Jenkins down to Kane Bradley. I don't think you can fault that really, and it frees up a bucket load of cash for me. So I'll have 421K in the bank and 9 trades left after this one. So I started with 10. I'll be using one. I had pre-trades. I had 13 players playing, which is fine, but Kane Bradley gives me a bit of insurance on that. Um, I'll just optimize my side and I'll sort of explain why I'm making that move. So the side looks okay for this week. Like it looks pretty like solid enough. Obviously I'm going to follow suit and do the Pappenhausen and Tedesco captaincy. Very straightforward. I'm not going to pot up like I did last week on Lomax. Just gonna play it simple this week and hope I can hold the rank. So I'll be playing all three of my fullbacks. Obviously, my center wing looks very, very stacked as it is. I've got both Lucas and Bradley here down here at the moment, which is all part of my plan too. Because as I touched on previously in the episode, Hubner is going to be going, but I'll make my way up the team. Burden and Munster in 5'8". That will be my 5'8" for the year. And Hughes and Cleary, as I touched on, is my halfback for the year. So I am a bit concerned about Munster not playing next week. So it's good that Burden will play next week and cover that. But for listeners out there, I think him and Tino are very good shouts of not backing up, and same as potentially Cleary. Although I think because he had that rest after Origin 2, he might play, especially with it being in Sydney. Um, yeah, so with that 421K, my plan is next week I go to Hubner, gone. So I use him for the number this week. I will flick Bradley or Lucas up, and so I can rotate just same as you. And then I will be getting in Brian To'o, as I said. I'm very keen on getting on the Panthers boys. So he is the person I'm keen on, and he's also the reason I'm not going Mark Nwonawita Wase. So that will leave me with a very strong center wing of um, yeah, as you can see there, and it will give me that dual flexibility. After that trade, I will also have a lot of money in the bank as well, to upgrade either Sandon or Riley Smith to either Watson or Harry Grant. provided it all backs up. I don't want to burn the trades just yet. I want to see them be named next week. So that's a plan, and that will be my final side with 7 trades left. Pretty happy with the side, and hopefully 7 trades is enough to get me through the remaining 8 rounds. But obviously, that's talking a bit about next week. Um, but I feel like I need to do that to sort of make sense of what I'm conjuring up here. Um, yeah, got Hubner, Katoa, Kalamatangi, May, Tarpany, and Sandon Smith. And then, yeah, this is sort of how I'll be shaping up. 14 men, all pretty solid plays. Like, I'm happy with all of them. I guess Hubner, Billy Smith, and Kane Bradley might drop out, would be your initial thoughts, but you never know. So, yeah, happy to roll that side in. And that will be me. And I've sort of got my plan in place of what I'll be doing. Yeah, hopefully, after the Origin game, it's kind and, we can see these guys back up. But something to be wary of is Tino, Munster not backing up, and then potentially Haas as well. And then obviously we don't have Tapani and Kaloamatangi next week either, with them being on the bye. So we could be very short, but that's part of the reason I've got Hubner there, because he's definitely gone, and I'll just do what's best for my side next week, but use him this week. So what are your thoughts there, Matt?
Yeah, geez, I don't know. If I had that, I would possibly look at going Jenko to Mark and then even Hubner to Bradley this week. I think you don't really gain much from Hubner. He very likely is the one that drops out. I think Bradley is a better go, and then you
Yeah,
get the duel as well as Marky. But you have your plan for To'o, so that would kind of be the only knock. In saying that, I've had To'o in draft all year. Has been a bit frustrating with all the hamstring injuries, and he just hasn't seemed to be doing too well. But if it's your pod player, you got to back that in. So yeah, that
yeah,
would be my only thought there, mate.
yeah. Like, I did have a think about going Jenkins straight to Mark, but To'o is the guy that I want for the run home. So provided he backs up next week, he's 100% coming into my side for Hubner, and I'll be making that move. And that's the reason I'm not going Mark, is because I've wanted To'o for this run home. I'm very big on him, and I hope he can, boost me up some ranks. And yeah, I'm hoping that with people bringing in Mark this week, To'o's ownership will stay down. I think it will. I think he's a good price now at 600k. So yeah, obviously holding Hubner just because I want the extra number, but his B is not too high either. Only I think it's 60 odd, so fine to hold. And he might drop a little bit of cash, but yeah, I really like how much funds I got and the versatility it gives me moving into next week.
Yeah, you can't knock that, mate. Looking good there.
Yeah, yeah, I do hope I hold rank. I feel like a lot of people have more numbers than me this week. Like, you said that it looks like your team's got a lot more. But yeah, hopefully 14 sees me through and I don't have a huge drop in rank. Yeah, hopefully it goes all well.
Yeah, I just counted my numbers, and with if I use those 3 trades, that takes me to 17. So obviously
Yeah,
a few dodgy 17 in there in Bradley, Smith, both the Smiths, Karapani, LKT, but yeah, up like it should be hopefully a strong side. And then it's just all about the run home, which I'm sure will be chaos, and I'm sure the listeners will be dreading, but we're almost there. So what can you do?
mm, yeah. That's it, mate. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that sort of wraps up our episode 21 for the podcast. I'll quickly stop sharing. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks Fish for jumping on, being back at it, even though the week we had last week. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Best of luck everyone for the major buy, and go New South Wales.
That's it, mate. Yeah, apologies again last week to the listeners for that issue, but again, we just prefer to upload quality content rather than just a lot of content. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And good luck. And hopefully you guys all see green in the final major bye week for NRL SuperCoach of 2025.
That's it, mate. Thank you very much. And yeah, best of luck everyone. Catch you later.
Thanks, mate.